All right, Amber Kidwell, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate you coming to tell the story of Nolan Sousley. And many people remember him because of the video that was put up of law enforcement coming into the hospital room because somebody reported a smell of cannabis and wanted to search his belongings. So it angered a lot of people in the community, to bother somebody that is a stage 4 pancreatic cancer patient. And so I know you've been through a lot as a caretaker. And so he was diagnosed Memorial Day 2018. What sort of symptoms did he have that made you guys go in to the doctor?
About a week before I made him go to the ER, he started having really bad stomach cramps, and he couldn't hardly make it through the day. He'd get really sick, and he was tired. And about day 3 in, his eyes got yellow. He got very jaundice. And then I could start seeing it in his skin, and he kept saying, it's nothing, I'll be fine. And I'm like, no, this isn't right. And after a week of it, I had taken my son to the airport in Springfield, and he would text me, and he's like, I'm feeling better, and I think I'm fine. And I got home, and it was worse. And I was like, that's it. We're going to the hospital. And they did a urine sample, and I mean, it was the color of tea.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute, like, you didn't tell me this, and they automatically just started doing tests. So,
yeah, okay, so jaundice, and he had a blockage then.
Yeah.
Say, what did you say?
Yeah, they found about a pencil-sized blockage in his bile duct from his bladder to his pancreas, and then that was automatically admitted him. But if we would go back 2 years, he started showing signs 2 years before this happened, and we could have probably caught it at stage 1.
Okay,
so
tell us about those signs.
He'd go to the doctor, and they would say, well, you're just constipated. They wouldn't do x-rays. They wouldn't do anything. I mean, he'd be doubled down on the floor, couldn't move, so he would take milk and magnesia to try to, and sometimes that would help. But when I look back now, I think, oh my gosh, we could have caught this, and we could have done the Whipple procedure or something, but by the time they found it, there was nothing we could do.
Gotcha.
Other than the chemo.
Okay, so no surgery, just chemotherapy that was done. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you were driving like an hour and 45 minutes each way to go to the hospital. And it was like every 3 days, was it? Or 3 days on that you did?
Yeah, we were 3 Mondays on, 1 Monday off. So pretty much, for 3 weeks, we would drive every Monday to Bolivar so he could have a 4-hour treatment and then drive home, and then he would get 1 Monday off. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That's time consuming for you as well. And I know it prevented you guys from being able to work and stuff like that, or took away from being able to work, and makes it hard. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't work at all, and I had to change the way I worked in order to be able to be at his beck and call and be closer to him if something would happen.
Gotcha.
And it's hard, really hard.
I bet. Bless your heart. Yeah. So he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and then there was metastasis to other areas in the body, sounds like.
Yeah.
And I guess, so this happened before, the passage of medical cannabis. So, that happened November 2018. And I'm sure he was so pleased to have that pass, because he found it to be helpful in improving his quality of life, right? maybe tell us, you know, what he would say about his benefits with using cannabis, or what you
His
saw.
benefits, well, he did 18 rounds of chemo, and we were doing the RSO at that time with it. They have, when you have pancreatic cancer, they have what's called a CA19A level that they test to kind of see where the activity of the cancer is doing. And his only got to a 78. We had talked to people where it was like in the thousands or higher. And doing the RSO in that, one of our very first visits with Dr. Leo, they sent us his paperwork. It said a 78. They did the test. It was a 19, and then went to an 8. So it kept those levels down. He quit taking his blood pressure medicine. His blood pressure was always perfect from the RSO and also from CBD, the combo of the both. His lab works were always good. Sometimes he would be a little elevated in his liver counts, just because the chemo sometimes would work a little harder than, you know, and get it up a little bit. But other than that, I mean, he had an appetite. You know, every once in a while he would kind of not have, you know, just kind of the day after would be a little hard for him. Yes. But his RSO helped keep his appetite up. I mean, he snacked all the time. You know, sleep. He hardly took his oxycodone, and that's something, I mean, when you're a cancer patient terminally ill, they feed you oxys like they're candy. You know, oh, I'm out. Well, here's some more, and you can take as many as you want. I don't care. When you're out, let me know. You know, so he was barely even taking his oxys. Wow. You know, the RSO was helping a lot with that. And once in a while he would have to, because it would get a little too unbearable. But for the most part, he hardly took any of that.
That's amazing.
Any of the medications they gave him. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And so I guess maybe if you want to speak a little bit, like, so, you know, if you want to elaborate maybe a little bit more about, you know, what his experience was going on that journey with the stage 4 pancreatic cancer and, you know, having to go to the hospital frequently and stuff like that. Maybe you can talk a little more about that.
It was really hard, very trying. I always say I've seen him humble a couple times during it, and it was when he would get to go to an event, he would be humble and excited. Then when I took him to Hawaii, but for Nolan, the most of it was he was so angry, very angry. The fact that he's 52 years old, diagnosed with a cancer that really doesn't have a very good, you know, survival rate, and he has this as grandbaby who's 2 years old. Okay. Yeah. But he's not going to get to watch her grow up and be the young lady that he's excited for her to be, not to get to walk his daughter down the aisle or see his sons grow up. So he was just really angry, and sometimes that would be very trying and hard. And I would have to, you know, if we went to the hospital, and this is sad, I would say, here's the cocktail, give Nolan the cocktail, knock him out, because you're going to have to do tests anyway, and he's allergic to iodine, so let's do this. We can have a conversation, and he'll sleep, because he's just going to be angry. And for Nolan, a lot of times when we'd be at the doctor or the hospital, he got stuck on one thing. He never heard anything else that was said. He would get stuck on one thing with normally the most negative thing he could hear. Yeah. And so trying to work through all those issues and be buffers for him, you know, and he would tell me all the time, I don't know what I do. I don't know what I do without you. And I'm like, it's, you know, that's what I'm here for. Like, you know, and I would feel sorry for him, because he wanted to fight, but he was tired, and you could tell, you know, that he was tired, but he kept pushing through that. That is one thing about him. He had the will to fight. Like, he was going to do whatever he could.
Wow. Yeah. Man. So he was having to go back to the hospital pretty frequently then. And what did his doctors think, or, you know, of using medical cannabis?
the crazy part, because we had seen an oncologist before, the one that actually gave him his diagnosis. And he's like, yeah, if you want to do marijuana, you can do marijuana. Eat some edibles. I don't care. If that's what you want to do. You know, I don't know much about it, but I hear it's great with appetite. I just had, this was not the doctor for us. I was like, listen, you can go still see him. I just have a bad feeling. And then that's when we met Dr. Leo in Bolivar. And one of the first things, one of his friends actually went with us, and we had told him this is what we'd done. And Tim was like, maybe you should tell the doctor, you know, thinking it in his head. And I just sat out and say, hey, what do you think about RSO? You got a problem with RSO? He's like, no, actually, I've heard great things on RSO. He goes, do you do it? We're like, yeah, we do it. And he goes, okay, cool. He's like, I'm excited to see. Like, he was more excited to see how it was going to help. He's like, every time we go in for a visit, he'd say, Nolan took your oil, right? You've taken your oil. Nolan's like, Doc, I don't leave home without it. His first chemo treatment, he literally pulled his RSO out. And it was like, he was like, if you're nervous, I got some meds I can give you. And I was like, nope, I got it. Like,
I got my own medicine.
Yeah, Dr. Leo was like, okay, I didn't see that. Like, no, stop.
Right.
So, right. Like, oh, geez. Yeah. So, it was very funny. That was the thing. We were very, very open. If anytime we saw a new doctor, anytime we were in the hospital, you know, we always were very open about, hey, we use cannabis. We use RSO and CBD. This is what we do. And they'd ask a million questions. Every time we go to Lake Ozark ER, they hand us a pamphlet. Every time they're like, we know, we got to hand it to you. And I'm like, you hand it, it's going in the trash. You might as well keep it for someone else.
Right.
You know, but I had to go in first of the year to the ER, and I told them, they asked me the questions and not a single pamphlet. So it was really cool to see the progression of from when I was taking Nolan to now.
Good to hear.
So,
Yeah, really
yeah.
good to hear. I think the word is spreading, and it's wonderful to, you know, for people like you guys to be brave enough, you know, to share it with the doctor, because often people are afraid. I mean, all the consequences that could come from using a plant that is being found very beneficial, you know, so good on you for being brave and helping to teach them, you know, more about it. Yeah, good deal. So yeah, so Nolan, so you guys were together for 9 years, and and he had, you guys have 3 sons and 1 daughter, and
well, that is his. That's
okay.
his kids.
Okay.
3 sons and a daughter. I have 5 of my own. I guess I should have told you that earlier.
That's all right.
We were like the Brady Bunch 2.0. That's what we would tell everybody.
Fun.
Yeah.
All right, good deal. Well, you know, I was just happy. Like, I was looking at the pictures earlier, and I was just, you know, it made me happy to see that his granddaughter did have some experience with him, and you know, they had experience with each other. So I think that's
loved her papa.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. So there was some good news. So where did the cancer spread?
Okay, so when it spread, they found 2 spots in his liver. There was a spot in his collarbone, and then a spot close to his sternum.
Okay.
As it progressed, the spot in his collarbone kind of stayed the same, but in his sternum, there was 2 more masses that showed up. Okay. And then the ones in his liver kept getting bigger. Gotcha. So that was where it metastasized to.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I think I said that, so my country accent comes out.
I know what you mean.
Right.
But so tell me so was there some imaging in the end that was pretty miraculous?
Yeah, and the crazy part is, I have to tell you, is they didn't really want to tell us at first. So we do his very last PET scan, which was actually about 3 weeks before he passed away. And we had went in, and Dr. Leo was like, "Nolan, I need to tell you this, but the cancer has taken over the whole lower part of your liver." And that's all he wanted to talk about. So we're like 5-6 minutes into it. Nolan and I are looking at each other, and I finally answered, "Dr. Leo, what about his pancreas? You haven't once mentioned his pancreas." And he goes, "Oh, yeah." And he looks at his paper, and he's like, "Yeah, oh, it's not there anymore. But Nolan, it's taken over all your liver." Like, didn't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wait a minute. You just said there's nothing in his pancreas." And he's like, "No, he said his pancreas is completely clear."
Isn't that
So it was almost like the cancer grew legs, picked itself up and walked straight to his liver and took over his liver.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But that's amazing, isn't it? To find out that
Right.
the pancreas was clear. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
man.
and I really honestly believe that he got really tired at that point. I think another month. I feel like we were filtering it by getting it to his liver, and could have possibly had surgery done on the lower part of his liver, but he just was at the point he was tired.
Yeah.
Just like done fighting.
Yeah, and just didn't want to go through surgery, and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was that incident with the law enforcement that came into the room. And how long was that, like, before he passed?
That was actually a year or no, not a year. I'm all mixed up. That was 2019. He passed. Like 6 months, I think, because that was back in March, and he passed in August.
Gotcha. Okay. And like, were there any repercussions, or they just searched his bag and that was it?
They searched his bag. We finally got everybody out, and the reason we were at the hospital was the fact that Nolan was going through, and it's weird because this is a lot of reasons why we ended up in the hospital. Nolan had uncontrollable shaking and sweats. He would, like, literally, I could take the bed sheets and his clothes and wring it and fill a bowl probably of water. Wow. And run a fever, and they could never figure out what it was. So we're like 3 days into the hospital, don't know, he can't keep his head up, he's just shaking. I'm helping the nurses change his bed sheets and his gown, and he can't keep his head up. And we finally getting better. And so, like I said, we're very open. This is what we do. We do not hide that from anybody, that was his treatment. So he wanted to go out. He was a cigar smoker. He's like, "I'm not changing my life for this. I'm going to smoke my cigar. I'm going to die, and I'm going to do it smoking my cigar." That's what he always say. So we got him out. He took a couple drags. I was smoking a cigarette, and a security officer came up. So I think they thought, knowing who we were, assumed that's what we were doing.
I see.
So we get accused. Cops end up being called. All of a sudden, I have like 4 extra people in his room. No mask, no nothing. One germ at that point could have been really bad. Like, could have killed him at that point. His immune system was down. So just trying to get everybody out of the room, and we were able to finally get him out. One officer we let stay in there. He checked everything, was like, "You're fine," and they left.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I understand that there was some remorse from the police officer for doing or having that incident of searching his last bag. So that's what Nolan was saying to him, was, "That's my last bag," of his cannabis. And so that name has now transferred over to some genetics, right? Nolan had a plant, and Josh Loftus took it on, from what I understand, after he passed, and has helped to continue the propagation or generations of that plant, and now people are able to get that those genetics from Josh Loftus at Home Grow Solutions, the Nolan's last bag, and that was because of you that it got its name, right? That you helped to name it.
Yeah, he kept saying, I don't know what to call it, I don't know what to call it, and I'm trying to think of something sentimental, and I'm like going through all these things, and then it hit me, and I was like, oh my God, I said, we got to call it Last Day Bag, and he was like, you could just tell in Josh's voice it hitting really hard too, and he was like, yes, you know, that's it, that's the name. So
fantastic. Yeah, very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And so with that, you guys started a nonprofit that is Nolan's Tribe of Warriors for Cannabis. Can you tell us a little bit about what your nonprofit is about?
Yeah, which we're still in the process of getting everything together. Kind of hard time finding the bank, but I found one. So what our nonprofit is education for patients and caregivers. Because, you know, there's not a lot of education about alternative medications you can use or holistic ways. And that is something Nolan and I found that we researched so much on and helped him in a lot of ways too. Because I remember the first time my dad, who's a preacher, said, put Nolan on CBD, and I'm like, oh my God, do you know what that is? You know, and all that research I did, and I realized a lot of cancer patients don't know the benefits of RSO or fico oil and CBD together and how they help with chemotherapy. You know, and then the caregiver is the person that's taking care of them and, you know, educating them also with the patient on how to use it, the protocols, and how the dosing works. So it's just kind of giving them that helpful and education in that way, and also support. For me, it's, you know, patients get a lot of support everywhere. You know, anytime we walk in someplace, you know, they're like, Nolan, Nolan, Nolan. And I've seen it with others. They kind of forget about the caregiver, and, you know, that the caregiver is walking right there next to that person and giving up so much. So it's giving that support to both of them, but that caregiver too. If the caregiver is like, hey, I need to just somebody sit with me, to be able to go in and sit with them and do whatever needs to be done to help them to have a little relief. I know that I never wanted somebody just to come to the house and like so I could leave, but to be able to give that opportunity, they don't have to leave, but they're not by themselves. So that's, you know, that's hard to go. Nobody can do it like I can do it. Nobody knows what they're supposed to do. And when you actually leave it to someone to do, then everything messes up. It's like, okay. But just to give that support. And then we want to be able to do fundraisers to start helping patients, you know, because it does come down to a lot of times the patient has to quit working, and it's one person in that family carrying the load for everything, and nobody can give support to give them money, and, you know, trying to find financial ways. So we want to be able to do that too.
Yes. How stressful. I mean, you know, I've seen it, you know, well, with myself as having been a caretaker of somebody with dementia, you know, as well as, you know, clients that have come to see me, and it's so taxing on people to be devoting all of that energy to not only help the person that's in need, but also to try to make sure that other things are being taken care of that need to be taken care of as well.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really pleased to see you rebounding. I see you rebounding, you know, and like your energy's coming up, and I see you, you know, enjoying life, and so I'm so happy. I was also happy to see that you have a significant other in your life now too, and
thank you.
So I don't really know what to say, but I'm just very happy to see you happy.
Well, I will tell you, I'm on a grieving site, and I love this site. I get on it every once in a while, and somebody had made a comment and said about something, and somebody else commented on it, and she said, we have two choices in life. We either die with the old one or we live a new life. And she said, I died for a little bit and decided to relive on my own terms. And it hit me very profoundly. So anybody out there, you know, that has lost someone, those are great words to, it's okay to live in the past and take your time in that grieving, and to be able to say, I need to move on, or I'm not ready, you know, because it's all in our own time and how we need to deal with it. Because what I realized was the moment Nolan got his diagnosis, I started my grieving.
Yes.
That period. And I didn't realize I was going through that until after he had passed away. And it was like, and then reading that, it profoundly hit me that it took me a little time to die with the past and to start reliving again. And it's been kind of amazing to be able to pick up and to live again and say, I'm okay.
Good.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Good. Yes. You know, some of those Facebook groups, I don't know if it's, you know, one of the grieving groups on Facebook, or they can be so helpful. Like for me, the dementia caretaker group, you know, has been so helpful, just to help normalize what is going on as far as, you know, all the different stages of grief, the anger, the sadness, the, you know, just, you know, I guess there's like 7 stages of grief. I can't name them all off right now, but but you know, it can be a bit of a roller coaster ride, and you know, to go through all those different emotions, and you know, sometimes we can beat ourselves up for going through those different emotions, but it's completely normal. And so I love that, you know, the goal of the Nolan Tribe of Warriors for Cannabis, you know, will be helping the caretakers as well. I think that's wonderful. Yeah.
I realized when I was going through my grieving that I called it bipolar. It was like a very bipolar of anger, happy, and then feeling guilty for being happy in a moment, or
yes,
it was very like bipolar kind of feeling, and to be able to slowly see myself walk away from that is nice. Now I still have moments. Oh shoot, I think I lost you.
Oh, there you are. No worries.
My phone's about to die.
Okay. Yep. Luckily we're at the end. So yeah, so advice for caretakers or medical cannabis patients.
My advice for caretakers is one day at a time. I know it's hard. It's not a journey that anybody asks us, hey, do you want to take this? We do it because we love the person. Even on the hardest days, you know, try to stay strong. Continue to encourage you know, we're going to fight. We're going to carry on. And it's okay to cry. That was the hardest thing for me. I could not cry in front of anybody because I had to be the strong person. I want to personally say it's okay to cry. It is okay to break down and say, this is hard for me. Doesn't mean you're weak or less of a person, but it's okay to have those moments. For patients on RSO, you know, that's a hard journey. Nobody tells you what that looks like. Nobody tells you that as you're going up in, you know, to hit your gram, what that feels like, and you feel like you're going crazy. Don't give up. Keep doing it. Push yourself, even in those moments. And if you have to, have your significant other or whoever is your caregiver just to talk to you and hold your hand and help ground you. That's like the best things to do. But don't give up just because it feels like it's hard and you're going crazy. I mean, I used to tell Nolan all the time, he was like that one puzzle piece that didn't fit anywhere, but they put it in there just to give us hell, you know, and you're trying to find where it goes. I'm like, that's you. I can't figure out where you go. But keep pushing forward no matter what. Just keep going.
Yeah, good. Okay. And his kids and your kids, they, you know, they get, I mean, like you said, you can't judge somebody by, you know, how long they are going to grieve and that sort of thing. And, you know, are they doing all right? It's been a year anniversary recently.
I have to tell you, Nolan's kids haven't talked to me. Every once in a while, I'll get a text from his son Tyler, but they really haven't reached out to me. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
I love them. You know, it is what it is, and I feel like part of it is that reminder of their dad. and would be hard, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry to hear it, and I hope that through the healing process, that that maybe they'll be reaching out again in the future and can share the good memories of the past together. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Is there any way that people can help to benefit Nolan's tribe of warriors for cannabis?
Help do what?
Just to help benefit the nonprofit. I know you guys have a Facebook page that people can be following to be updated on what unfolds in the future. Is that, I know there was a GoFundMe a while back that helped with expenses and that sort of thing. Is that still open, or are people still able to donate to that GoFundMe?
As far as I know, it should still be open to take funding for it. I will check on that, and maybe I'll put a note on Facebook. But that it got set up so long ago. But I do need to check that. But as far as I know, it should still be open. We are working on trying to get a bank account open, but because our name says cannabis in it, it's finding a bank to take us. I tell you, that's the craziest thing to me. I'm like, I cannot distribute. I can't give it. I can't, I'll go to jail. Yeah. Yes. But just because the name's in it, a lot of my local banks are having a hard time. So I've been on the hunt to find a bank.
Okay.
So as soon as I get that, I'll be able to open it up for everybody to start donating if they want to.
Very good. So any of those license winners from the dispensaries, if you could reach out and let her know which banks are taking money. So that'd be helpful. Yeah. Times are tough right now with quarantine. I know that, you were out of work for a while, and so if there's, I would love if maybe, that people could continue to donate to that GoFundMe just to help during this time. If there's people out there that can just throw a few bucks and help through this trying time, and then also, can be putting that money towards the efforts to help other patients, cancer patients and caretakers. So, so, well.
I would like to give a shout out to my board members, because I don't know that anybody really knows who my board members are. It's so exciting. I have Rachel Crawford as my VP. I have Missy Bliss Kohler.
Yes.
She got married.
What a beautiful wedding that was, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh, wasn't it? Look at me.
Felt so special to be there.
Yes, me too. So Missy is our secretary treasurer. And then I have Azra Witt, who is a local here in Eldon that was a huge follower of Nolan and I, and she would always come in and visit once in a while so she could see Nolan. Dan Hobart, my lawyer, is on the board, and then my trustees are Nick Woodward, Dan Hendrickson, Josh Loftus, and Stephen Elton.
Oh,
that's a nice group there. I'm excited.
That's wonderful.
So we're all spread out all over Missouri.
Fantastic.
We're all spread out. Yes.
Shout out to Hoosier Sophisticate family, being a part of the board. Fantastic. Yeah. All right. Well, again, I always hate ending these things with with friends, and and I really appreciate you sharing your story, because I in my office I get to hear some of these stories from people, and and then through the industry and going through the events and that sort of thing, I get to hear these things, and my goal is to just try to make this more public to people, give people hope that there are options that can help to improve quality of life, and and to help with decriminalizing this plant. Because people need to stop going to prison for it. They need to be released from prison for it, and people need to have their quality of life improve and not live in fear. So,
you're saying quality of life. I got to throw this in really quick. That's one thing doctors, they can maybe guarantee you a quantity, but they can never, when you're going through chemo, they cannot give you a quality of life, and that is something also helps give more of a quality of life to you.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah.
Helping like as an antidepressant, helping to improve appetite, helping to reduce inflammation and pain. So there's so many good reasons for it. And yeah, so thank you for being brave and coming on and helping to share Nolan's story. And I really look forward to seeing, you know, the future of Nolan's tribe of warriors for cannabis.
Me too. I'm ready to start.
All right. Excellent.
All
right. Well, thanks again. And
thank you, Ms. Tiffany. This was fun. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. I'll just